corridor appears to extend into infinity. We're supposed to go to specific doors. Luminous beings we are, not this crude matter. You have never seen the likes of this being. At first it appears as a thin woman wearing a tight-fitting floor-length dress. However, you quickly realize that her face is a hollow porcelain mask behind which is nothing but a pale ball of light. The creature is as still as stone as it gazes at you without expression. What are you? The blank face is utterly still, without the slightest hint of emotion. What is this place? The empty eyes look down upon you. Can you understand me? There is something unfathomably cruel about the motionless face. What's going on here? Without making the slightest sound, the creature turns. Slowly it begins to glide along the great corridor. The sculptor. This gigantic man's skin, hair and clothing are completely and utterly white. As he works on his massive sculpture, he seems completely unaware of your presence. Here's the markings again. Here within this glorious wall, a mysterious giant is working on a massive and bizarre sculpture. So that's I suppose the sculpture that time makes. Who is that man? Preacher looks at the sculpture. What is he making? The face is motionless, and yet something about its expression suggests a terrible bottomless hatred. What's the matter? The empty eyes turn back to you. Why have you brought me here? There is no response. What do you want? You suddenly realize it is waiting for you to say something. I want to leave this dream. I'm not afraid anymore. I want to know the truth. The luminous being waits patiently for your next words. I want to meet my fate.
You must fall for the greater good.
Ah, I'm a zombie. Glory, you are overcome with a terrible hunger. can't do anything. Just watch as I kill civilians. They're all dead. We move forward now. The walls of this room are adorned with 100 mournful faces. But there are some face-like things there. You okay? So, can't go near the cradle then, or do we have to go near the cradle? Might be that we need to die here. It's instant death. I don't see how I could. It's a trap. Cradle killed me. So do I need to wait or respawn or what? I'm invisible. You hear a voice. Only through death can you venture forth. Oh. Only through changing of clothing can you survive this. And I put it there, didn't I? Where the fuck did I put it? Burn. I want to see you burn. I think I need to die. I'm taking magical damage. So there's only one aim to this. How many times do I have to die here?
My injuries are taxing my strength. Please, heal me at once.
Taxing my strength, my ass. Don't be a coward. Hornwolves. That's the best you can do. What's there? Gravestone. Here lies Ania Melimian, Unmaker of the world. Let her soul be damned for all eternity. Seems fair to me. Are they vulnerable to this? No.
You must fall for the greater good.
Their attacks are coming right through, so they're totally not using slashing damage. What piercing? I think it's piercing. Well, this is gonna take a while, so I think I'll just clean up the inventory in the meantime. I can't. It keeps interrupting things if I do that. I thought I might be getting something useful out of this. It's not like they have any chance of successfully doing anything to me. Actually, why the fuck do I even need the shield? At least this way things will go a little bit faster. $10,000 experience points for our next level. I don't think we're gonna get all that many level ups anymore. Certainly not up to level 20 or anything close. We're currently 13. I think 16, 15 might be more realistic. Unless the game decides to suddenly just throw out a huge amount of experience. Ah, it's spawning new wolves.
My injuries are taxing my strength. Please, heal me at once.
Yeah, I clearly forgot what we need to do here. We need to just move toward and die, 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 and die again. Accept it, and they keep on dying. Do you remember yet? Do you understand? So long I had waited. For so many years I prayed to see you again in my dream. So... Who's killing me? Doesn't really matter. The reason I think I mentioned earlier that I questioned the fate thing. The reason also is partly because we lost the Naturally, because it tries to tell us that it's reality, it takes away the one item that we use to destroy the Hydra. I don't recall the name anymore. The piece made out of the hammer of lore, but we already had an inventory full of similarly gained items, so that doesn't really prove anything. So I find it odd that the game maker would basically remove just that one item in an excuse to try to sort of sell us the dream, when you can just open your inventory and find all kinds of random shit that you found after you got into the town. I mean, it's incredibly obvious that it's not reality, but I sort of think it might be a hint of something. I thought you would have the answer. I thought you could still save them, but you did not return. And so they died, like so many others. This young woman was killed just moments ago. There's a dead child in this cradle. So who is it? An old ally. You watch from on high with sad eyes, claiming remorse, but do you know what it is to suffer through this? Do you know what it is to live your pain? Hmm. Step forward and be judged. Okay. What is the most horrible thing you can imagine? Undead woman, zombies? Yeah, that's not particularly horrible, that's like Thursday.
Got up. Ooh, okay. Got up. Ooh, okay.
Ooh, it's Caster. Excellent. Instant death. Well, I'm not gonna sell my life that easily. Now the rest are the standard issue zombies. Have no trouble against these. They get respawned. What you find in this cradle is too horrible to put into words. Okay. Like a dead child. Mutilated dead child that has been sexually abused before killing. What? Because when you put those horrible things into words, it doesn't sound all that bad. Not shocking enough, let's say, put it that way.
My weapons will do me no good here.
Yeah, so I gathered. Then what? Am I supposed to let these losers kill me? Ooh. These bones are very small, like the bones of an infant. They appear to have been chewed upon quite recently, and holding them in your hand makes you feel crushing guilt. If broken, the bones will emanate a sound of unspeakable sorrow. Wailed banshee. Maybe the mother ate her own baby. It's a possibility. But again, that's not terribly horrible. I mean, I recall seeing something like that in an anime once. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. A horrible thing, but eh. You get used to it. That might not be a good thing, but you get used to everything. Now you know my pain. Just one more step. The following words are written on the lid of this sarcophagus. I forgive you, my love. I forgive and take all the blame. Good for you. Ooh, I like your cap. You breathe. Now, what exactly am I supposed to do here? Some losers again take an easy victory. What?
You must fall for the greater good.
Can't reach the target. Well, piercing damage is certainly not what he's doing to us. Probably blunt. Are you regenerating? Sort of doing a lot of things. What I'm thinking is, should I voluntarily die here? It's not like there's a door here or anything, or other paths, so it sort of seems like I'm supposed to die again. But at the same time, this seems like a defeatable opponent. This deformed monstrosity is the very essence of grief. Like the emotion itself, once begotten, it can never be banished from one's conscience. Do I want to fight this? That's I suppose. Well, or am I just throwing away resources? I think I'd better just lose this. Alexar Targaryen. So are you happy? Did it make you feel better?
My blood calls for yours, and it will be satisfied.
Alexar, what is going on? At last you have returned to my nightmares, Unmaker. So, you know who I am?
Yes.
I know who you are, and I know what you've done. What do you think I have done?
You've doomed us all!
You have brought about the century of sorrow. How do you know this? Never mind how I know. Did you think you could keep this truth hidden from the world? Did you think you could just avoid justice by escaping into dreams? I'm not trying to escape. I want to find a way to stop all this. It's too late to stop it. There's no hope anymore, only vengeance. Please believe me, Alexar. I didn't know what I was doing. I was deceived. Ignorance is no excuse for a sin such as yours. It transcends all laws of responsibility. Have you not seen the oceans of blood that lie in the wake of your footsteps? Yes, I have seen the consequences of my act. I have witnessed it all throughout an endless string of nightmares. Yeah, endless. Fucking yes. But you have not lived through it. You have not smelled the burning flesh of the damned, have not felt the dishonor of retreat. You have not seen your wife perish and rise again to devour. Devour what? My son, her own child, you soulless monster. Did you not see what was in that crypt? Oh gods. Yeah, you. That kind of a thing might be shocking if it would be more. If it weren't just a point in a background of horrific atrocities and events. Here it just. Oh gods. Yes, breathe deep of the horrors have you unleashed. Breathe deep of the horrors have you unleashed upon us all. Well, he's upset. He probably doesn't doesn't use correct uh, sentence structure there, I guess. Hmm. Oops. I do not want your apologies, Unmaker. But how did you survive the battle, the one I saw in your dream? I listened to you. I heeded your warning in the dream, and in the thick of the battle I retreated to safety. It has been my greatest shame. And what happened next? Next my kingdom fell. The army of the undead swept over us in a flood. My father died upon the battlefield, and my family... Go on.
No.
No, I am not here to entertain you with my grief. And what do you want? I want to know why you did it. Why did you cast us all into this hell? I tell you, I was deceived. I had no idea what was going on. But it was you who was the deceiver. Do not pretend innocence. How do you know this? That is not your concern. Now tell me, why will you do this? I have no idea. You lie. Admit your guilt. I will not. I tell you I'm innocent. Then let your soul rot for an eternity, Unmaker. This dream is only the beginning of my vengeance. What do you mean? This is only a prelude to your suffering. On guard. He draws out a fearsome sword. Okay. He basically lost with the fearsome sword part, I guess. Alexander has aged a great deal since you had last seen him. His face bears the scars of 1,000 cuts and 1,000 tears. And there's no exits from here, so we're fighting. Yeah. Good luck trying to kill me, douchebag. Best purchase I ever made in this game. Belt of Swordsmanship. Right, this might last for a while, but the end result is already certain. He has no chance. And he's in the healing cycle. Let's just delay the inevitable.
Into the flames we leap!
But I'm not leaping. Dreamer died, so ends the dream. That's interesting. I don't recall the initial encounter in the when there was a big army of undead attacked the Sardathians, but what Alexa seems to be saying is that my being here has changed things. It didn't happen anymore in the way that I saw it the first time, though my interference now has altered things. It might have not have made a big difference, but it changed things. You find yourself in a gigantic library filled with ghostly whispers. Held aloft by the ominous statue, this ancient tome is sure to contain much knowledge of the past. Read the open page. Chapter 1: The First Decade and the Plagues of the Akaban. In the 957th year of the Amung-Sung dynasty, a plague did descend upon the great kingdom of Akaban. This plague of madness and disease came to be known as the Wailing Death. From the desert it spread like a sandstorm carried by the anger of gods. 100 mad souls escaping from the death that took Hierathanon, they brought their doom to share with all the world. For the water that once gave life in the desert now drew death from all. The lips of the dying spoke of poisoned air filled with the screams of madness. Thus the mercy of Liet turned away from his people. But why? What affront did they perpetrate to anger him thus? That even the greatest scholars and sages cannot tell. The mystery has died with the city that spawned it, and now lies buried beneath 100 years of sand. But those who sought to escape his wrath only brought it to share with their brethren, and so the plague spread all along the great desert routes until no Akaban city remained that was not filled with the wailing. The emirs fell into a cruelty of desperation. Warriors scoured door to door, executing all who showed signs of the disease, but the warriors only spread the plague further with each victim they put to death. Soon entire cities burned, while armies stood outside, cold of eye, murdering any who sought escape. The law itself was abandoned in the name of survival. But it was all for naught, for when the plague at last fell under the lash of scimitars, so a new destruction was visited upon the land. From the north, from Sardathia, an army came, not in aid but in conquest, in revenge. For the Sardathians had never forgotten their enslavement by the devotees of Liet many years ago, and this time their vengeance would be final. And so, after 37 centuries of glory, the great desert kingdom finally exhaled its last breath. All things must come to an end, all things, even legend. You cannot turn the page. The page is as heavy as the memories it describes. Ooh. Okay, we're reading books apparently again. Could you read it, please? Chapter 2: The Second Decade of the Portents of Doom. Those alive today can still remember the silence that came before the storm, that which has come to be known as the last decade of peace. It was a time of prosperity, even optimism. A golden age came to Sardathia, who finally mended its wounds after the final conquest of its ancient enemy. Trade with Valeria and the elves in Linditharn flourished, and sages and scholars traveled the lands exchanging gifts of wisdom. But not all were so blind to the waning of the earth. Not all were content to look upon the surface and ignore the signs of the sickness festering beneath it all. The elves were the first to sense the signs, attuned as they are to the pulse of life. They listened to the breaths of trees and heard its gasps. With each year, shorter, more labored was the heartbeat of the world, just a few minutes less per year at first, but enough to draw them watchful eyes. And while concern grew among the forests, none knew the cause of the affliction. The priests of Thulil were the second to perceive the coming of the end. In the Lotharian year 1408, on Midsummer's Day, the day of cloudless skies. And indeed, as always, the sky was clear and the sun streaked through it unfettered. But it was smaller, just a fraction of an angle, a scratch of their instrument, but smaller. At first they did not believe. They furrowed their brows and checked again each measurement. Each year the angle became still more acute. Each year the difference grew, at first only to the sharpest eye, but still without denial. And so for 50 years the priests of Thulil have kept their records, as if meticulous devotion to recording the death of the sun could do anything to forestall it. Chapter 3: The Third Decade and the Rising Tide. It began in the tombs of silent Akaban, beneath the old temples of forsaken justice. A second plague did stir among the bones, a tide that would wash across all the world. For a year it was not even known. Unheard were the quiet moans, unheard were the weak scratches upon the inner lid of the sarcophagus. And at first it was seen as a miracle. Those who left were now returned. The soul was welcomed again into its fleshy home. But soon the horror would be known, for the soul was not made whole. It was without reason, without compassion, only hunger, a great ravenous hunger that could not be sated or appeased. And so the dead did rise against the living. At first only the most recent corpses shambled from their graves, but in time all the coffins began to shatter, and all the stone doors of tombs to slide open. Soon the panic spread, to oppressor and oppressed alike, and a great tide of refugees flooded northward, abandoning the ancient desert cities forever, and thus came to end the golden age of Sardathia.
You must fall for the greater good.
It's a barricade, don't need to threaten it. Chapter 4: The Fourth Decade and the Storm of the East. In the year 1421, a warlord rose among the eastern tribes of the Jantar Plains, a warrior such as had not been seen in centuries, more fearsome even than the legendary Thrul. He came to be known as Rashkai the Invincible. In 3 years the horde of Rashkai conquered all of the great Juntar tribes and united them all beneath his black banner, and his words echoed across the eastern plains as like the thunder of a coming storm. It was not long before the Jantar hordes turned their eyes to the west, to the great expanse of fields and forests that was the kingdom of Beleria, and at the word of their indomitable Khan, they raged as one upon the stalwart watch. First they fell upon the watchmen at Thrallmark and overwhelmed them with their force. Thus unchecked, they spilled westward over Irvine Glade, slaughtering all in their path. Despite the hurried efforts to mount a defense, within days the villages of Kieranholt and Felagmere were conquered and put to the flame, and none were spared. Only in Groenheld was the enemy held back long enough for the townsfolk to flee to safety. At last the advancing horde was held at Marble Keep by the Beleriand army and at the edge of the Limla Tarn by the elves, but all of northeastern Beleria lay in ruins. All of its valleys rang with the howl of men with the parts of wolves. Looks like we're coming to an end. Chapter 5: The Fifth Decade of the Fall of Sardathia. The dead of Akaban were not content to merely reclaim their lost kingdom, for vengeance begets vengeance, and the expanding spiral, once released, can never be tamed. The plague of the dead began moving northward, slowly at first and easily held back by the spears of the legionnaires, but the first swells of the rising tide are followed by greater ones, until no shield or spell can hold back its power. A call was made for heroes to travel to the land of the dead to learn the source of this terrible threat, but few of the brave ever returned, and those who did brought no answers. The sages of Sardathia would not agree on the nature of the enemy. Was it a curse spoken by some vile Akabari priest? Was it some evil released by the invasion decades before? Was it related to the wailing death that spread from the depths of the desert? No answer came, no solutions appeared, and though the legions of Sardathia fought with dignity and courage, it soon became clear that their cause was ultimately without hope. The army of the undead was just too great. And still worse, those who fell in trying to fight against it soon themselves rose to join its ranks. And so, in the year 1437, King Targaryen himself rode out to meet his enemy. Trumpets rang with the call to parley, but they were unanswered. The dead have no emissary, no general, no emperor to appease with trinkets and promises. A battle ensued then, and King Sardosh Targaryen was slain. In the fury of grief his son Alexar brought together the seven legions and led them against the enemy. Like a spear they cut through the undead army and shattered it into fractured gangs, but so many were lost in the battle that they too rose against the kingdom, and it was not long before the undead throng was whole once again. By the end of the decade, the defenses of the kingdom fell. The army of the undead poured over Sardathia, forcing all to flee northward into the forests of Lindetharn. But in their desperation, the fleeing men and women forgot all reason and fought against the elven stewards of the forest. Many lives were lost on both sides before the Sardathians were defeated. In the end, the elves took pity upon the conquered invaders and allowed them to take shelter within the southern wood and upon the slopes of the Daltamir, and thus the once glorious kingdom of Sardathia was now reduced to a few scattered groups of shamed refugees. What a shame. Better be a payoff to this shit. A chest. Chapter 6: The Sixth Decade and the Council of Azelgard. In the year 1442, a council was held within the great halls of Azelgard, capital of the Beleriand Empire. From all known corners of the world, the sages gathered to discuss the events of recent years. From the north came the warlords of the Urdenar and the dwarven kings of Cragholm. From the east came the elders of Lindletharn and viziers of Sardathia. From the south came the masters of the trading guilds, and from the west the sages of Thalil. All were welcomed as allies by Phaedrus, king of Azelgard. For 7 days did the council hear accounts of the troubles come to plague the lands. Some spoke of the great Juntar horde sweeping like windstorm from the untamed east. Some spoke of the dead rising from their graves and devouring once proud Sardathia. Some spoke of the dying of forests and the withering of the sun. Some claimed that this was all a common doom, a century of sorrow that had come to claim the earth and bring about the end of days. It was said that throughout all history the greatest of prophets had spoken of an edge to time, a darkness beyond which there is nothing, and now it had come at last, and the gods themselves decree the world to perish. An elven sage came forward to speak of a balance disturbed, a symmetry broken at the heart of these troubling omens. He claimed that all of this had been foreseen, that it was the climax of a great battle fought for millennia against the laws of existence itself. The battle could still be won, so he claimed. But the council did not listen. Each had their own immediate concerns. The armies of Bavaria united with the Northmen of the Urdenar and the dwarfs of Crackholm against the Jontar threat. The elves of the Lindetharn turned their forces to defend the forest against the undead armies marauding across the corpses of Sardathia. The sages turned to their books and the astrologers to their stars, but no answers were found. And thus, for another 8 years was civilization held against the growing threat. But nothing lasts forever. Nothing, not even legends. So what's in the chest? E forward. Do you want to pick a fight with me? Didn't think so. That's a lot of skeletons. Suspicious man might think that they'll going to jump at some point.
Okay. Okay.
We need to take out the mage. Ooh, there's a skeleton king. We definitely need to take out the mage if things come to a fight. I can deal fairly well with every physical attack, but magical attacks are a different matter. Chapter 7: The Seventh Decade and the Fate of All. One by one the defenses fell. First in the north, from the peaks of Agerfjord, came a new threat. The giants woke from their slumber and rose to form a great army. That army swept upon Crackholm and drove the dwarves to abandon their human allies and return to defend their mountain keeps. Second, in the south, terrible news. The dead began to rise from their graves near Krakograd. At first it was only a few, but soon the restless corpses formed an army against which none could stand. Those who fell in battle against the undead horde soon rose to join its ranks, and though burning the bodies of the fallen forestalled their return, when they did they came back as fearsome spirits that no weapon could harm. And so the Beleriand armies retreated. They pulled back, leaving space to allow their enemies to confront each other. And for 6 years terrible were the battles between the Jundar hordes and the undead armies. But then, the third deadly blow. Rashkai, the Jundar warlord, undefeated in battle, fell at last time in his 60th year. And when he himself rose as an undead spirit, so the Jundar shamans saw at last the fate of all. The shamans decreed blood jihad. The Jundar warriors now threw themselves in a mindless frenzy upon their enemies, and died by the thousands. And so greater and greater grew the terrible army of undead until its numbers were beyond counting. The men of the Urdenar fled to their northern homes, the elves retreated into their forests, and the generals of Bavaria, stalwart to the end, died defending their cities from the onslaught that was now unstoppable. And thus all that once was now lay dying. No more scribes to write histories upon yellowed parchment, no more bards to sing tales of glory. The remnants of men now huddled in scattered keeps and underground mines, while all through the lands the spirits of undead rage in their fury. So rises the fate of all. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Where's the fucking mage?
You
The
must
mage.
fall for the greater good.
And you're stuck there.
You
Kill the
must fall for
What
the
the
greater
fuck are
good.
you doing? Pathfinding. Ooh. That, that's the one. That's the one. Jesus Christ, people. Not that cup. Kill the mage. Thank you. The knights are worthless. The king might be troublesome. Yeah, actually, it's the better mage. Shit. The vision is blocked. No, it's not. Right. We need to get to it. It's the only thread I have. And it's gone. Thanks for the key. Okay, I think the ogre is our next threat. It has a blunt weapon. Most of the others are using slashing ones. It's already decided at this point. We're in no danger anymore. Still need that 10,000 experience. The killing doesn't really get us anything anymore. At least opponents of this caliber. You sense a presence here in the light. You see the shimmering outline of a man in robes. His face is black and featureless. A featureless face beneath the hood appears to be staring at you quite intently. Who are you? He begins gesticulating wildly as if very excited. Can you hear me? He nods intently. Then say something. He seems to be pleading, but you hear nothing. What is it? What do you want? He's become very transparent. Hey, you're fading. Okay, something's happening. Connor Eldoran. 100 years of dreams, I suppose. Right shall prevail. We will not be defeated this day. Of course he won't.
Okay. Okay.
I think I'll change my second level spells a bit. I actually don't have the... yeah. There's no point changing if you don't have the proper buff spells.
Right shall prevail!
Be ready, men, for now is the time for battle. An army comes now upon us, an army that means to devour all that is left of our kingdom. But we shall stop it here. We shall stand against this darkening. We shall stem this tide. Is everything ready? Yes, Lord Elrond.
Good. If the gods smile on us, then the situation is not as dire as I fear. If not, well then, I wish you the best of luck. We shall triumph this day! Attack!
But there's like 10 guys here. Who are we defending against, by the way? Better not waste resources on these. I'd like to know what the fuck we're doing. Undead Horde? Maybe a hopeless fight? That sort of thing.
Right shall prevail!
Yeah, they come. Why the fuck can't you just go through the opening?
Right shall prevail!
Jesus fuck, why does it always have to be this hard? Greater Visage. No, they're all rubbish. Guess I'll just stand here and kick their ass.
You will not win this time!
Blind finding seems to be paying off in this section. Spirit should have some kind of automatic concealment on every spirit.
You must fall for the greater good.
Soldiers goes. So how long can we keep this going? Is there a victory to be even had? Ooh, that's a powerful looking wizard. Ooh, that's a missile swarm. Still, the boss man there seems to be alive, so I think I should give it a try. There might be something worthwhile if we do it. Yeah. I have like 7 healing potions at this point. I do have Fruits of Life. Yeah, that's not much of a regeneration. Ah, fuck it.
We'll strike you down. Fall in the attempt.
Now the Eldoron is dead. A dreamer died. Okay. Good use of resources then. Still, that's actually quite a nice way to get past the fact that what if instead of having a hopeless fight where the player has to die, have some weaker guy you need to defend and you get past that. There's no way you can keep it alive, and especially if the enemy splits their attention a little bit.
Let's have at it! Let's have at it!
I'm assuming Ogrin is the dreamer here. Yeah, that's a dwarf looks battle weary and yet undeterred. Jesus fuck. Now we're running out of creamers soon. I think he might be invulnerable. But I'm not. Warrior Mummy, that's the one that is troublesome. Yeah. I think I can cure that. Ah. Yeah, now we're sort of a bit too close to ending everything.
I will strike you down, or fall in the attempt.
Okay, so really you don't have to do anything here. It'll just last longer the suckier you are. I think I'm still reluctant to fireball that because I don't know how the neutral party is gonna react to things. Um, I don't care what you shoot, just shoot. First warrior mummy down. Well, they at least give you some experience. This time the retarded AI is working in my favor. I'm too far away from them to ever come to me. Mage or a cleric might be able to pull this off without him reaching basically the near death point where the game has to cheat to keep him alive.
I have to say thanks, I do.
You appear just in time, madam. Who are you? Name's Ogrin Feldspar. Extends his hand. Shake his hand. I'm Ania Melinian.
Well, hello to you.
He warmly grasps your forearm. Well, hello to you. So, where did you come from? Never mind that. What are you doing here? I'm escorting these people to safety. Not an easy thing to find in these dark times. And where are you going? To the dwarven kingdom of Crackholm. The great modern citadels shall never be breached by the armies of undead. Is Crackholm the only place left where safety can be found? It's the only place I know. What about the human cities? Do you know if any still stand? The human kingdoms have fallen. Perhaps some still survive in the great fortresses of Uthbanor or Marbor Keep, but it won't be long before even they are overrun. What about the northern lands? Do men still live in Urdenar? That I would not know, friend. That is far from here, and news does not travel quickly through the lands of the dead. What about the Elven Forest? Is there not safety there? You probably know more of that than I, my elven friend. But I've heard tell that the forest of Linlithorn is now the domain of spirits, specters and wraiths, and worse things still. And Rith Sylvain, the city in the trees? Sorry, I don't know much of elven lore. I have never traveled the Great Forest. And you think you'll be safe in Crackholm?
I believe so.
The gates of mighty Crackholm shall never be breached. Come, friend, join us. Come with us to Crackholm. We could use the help of one such as you. Thank you. I'd be happy to join you.
Hooray!
Another to join our stalwart little band. So when are we leaving? Soon. This place is not safe anymore. Come, let us gather the others. And remember, all the evils in the world can never defeat us as long as we still have hope and courage in our hearts. What is it now? Yeah, and honestly appreciate the healing potion or two at this point.
Okay.
This is a quite an assumption to make from the maker of the game that everyone basically, well, maybe dying isn't too big of a deal here. That would probably be a solution. That you can just respawn or something, or failure to successfully kill some target is not an end to this. It's just a different outcome. But it's certainly draining our resources. And I have 200,000 gold that never really got a chance to even try to use most of it. Even if I was a wizard, the chances haven't been come a long time for me to strengthen my spell selection. The old man speaks, but you cannot hear his words. Look at him carefully. You notice that his ethereal form acts like a window through which you can see past the doorway behind him. Beyond that doorway, you see a pair of lips speaking endlessly. Try to read what the lips are saying. You cannot make it out. Who are you? He seems very excited at your presence and motions for you to follow him. Very well, lead on. He motions to the large doorway behind him. Where does that lead? He just keeps motioning for you to come. Very well. It's something different, so why wouldn't I do it? I need an end to this somehow. Yes, she is the one. I think this is the past. Arkad Uzvat Malnakar. Take form that which has been stolen. Awaken, lost one, to the hope of all. Yeah, this is more what I expected. At last it is accomplished, and she returns to walk among the living. Let her rest, for she carries a heavy burden, the hope and fate of all. Shh. Do not be afraid, my friend. It's over at last. You're awake! I gasp. Oh, I have fine robes. Very good quality. These robes are made from fine fabrics embroidered with a variety of roots.